Welcome to the Secrets We Keep podcast, where silence ends and healing begins. This podcast is for reflection and conversation. It's not therapy, diagnosis, or emergency support. If you are in immediate danger or need urgent help, please contact emergency services, a crisis line, or a trusted local resource. This episode discusses fear, trauma bonds, emotional abuse, manipulation, gaslighting, financial pressure, stalking, and the difficulty of leaving harmful relationships. Please take care of yourself while listening. Pause if you need to, step away if you need to, and come back when you're ready. Why is leaving harder than people think? I know there are people on the outside and they say, it's so easy. Just leave. If it's that bad, why stay? I would never put up with that. But leaving a relationship is not just a decision, it can be emotional, mental, financial, spiritual, and sometimes even dangerous. That is what this episode is about. Even when someone knows staying is not the right thing, leaving can still feel almost impossible. You can know that person has betrayed you. You can know that person has disrespected you. You can even know they have gaslighted you, manipulated you, abused you verbally or physically, and still find yourself struggling to walk away for good. And that confuses people. But it should not. Because people are not just leaving a person. Sometimes they're trying to leave a trauma bond. Sometimes they're trying to leave fear. And sometimes they're trying to leave the version of hope they have been holding on to for years. For me, leaving was hard because I had never really known healthy love. You know, some people grow up around softness, they grow up around consistency, and some people see love modeled in a way that feels safe, respectful, and mutual. But that was not my experience. I do not remember seeing many people truly in love. I remember people staying. I remember seeing marriages last, but lasting and loving are not always the same thing. A lot of people stayed because it was convenient. They stayed for the children. They stayed because of finances. They may have stayed because they didn't want to start over, or maybe they stayed because they were afraid. But rarely did it look like peace, happiness. So when I got married and I found myself in something painful, it was harmful and frightening. I did not have a healthy blueprint in me to compare it to. For me, it was fear. Fear that he would try to hurt me. Fear that he might try to unalive me. And that fear was not irrational because if harm could happen while I was with him, what was supposed to make me believe it would not happen if I tried to leave? He said things, he threatened me. He could be one person in public and an entirely different person behind closed doors. I remember one time we were at his cousin's house and there was a fight. I don't remember who was fighting. I just know it was a major fight that we were watching. And everyone was laughing and we were talking and drinking and having a great time. And I thought all was well with the world. It felt normal. It felt calm. It felt like maybe for once we were just going to have a great time. And then we left. And as soon as that last wave and that last goodbye happened, it was like a switch flipped. He accused me of flirting, of being too friendly, and the entire ride home, I mean, the entire ride home, was a barrage of profanity, disrespect, and anger. That is the kind of thing people do not see. They see you at the gathering, they see you smiling, They say, oh, what a cute couple. They do not hear the car ride. They do not see what happens when the door closes. They do not feel the shift in the air. They do not understand how fast normal can turn into fear. Because when people ask, why did she stay? They are usually only looking at the outside. They're not looking at the fear. They're not looking at the isolation. They're not looking at the threats. They're not looking at the confusion. They're not looking at what that person's nervous system has been conditioned to survive because they don't know. So they don't see it. I had opportunities to leave, and there were times I did leave, but I also went back. And I know that confuses people. I know it did for my family and my friends. But if I'm honest, when I left, sometimes it felt like something was missing. I would wonder what he was doing, who he was with, what was happening. And that sounds crazy when you are talking about someone who was abusive, disrespectful, cheating, and harmful. But that is the reality of trauma bonds. You tied to the same person who is hurting you. You are tied to the highs and the lows. You are tied to the apologies, to the brief tenderness, the hope that maybe this time something will be different. And when you do not know healthy love, sometimes that bond feels more familiar than peace. As I've said, I was raised in chaos, arguments, loud voices, fighting, instability. So, someone softer, respectable, caring, giving, compromising, that did not feel natural to me. I don't even know if those words fully lived in my vocabulary at the time. What felt familiar was intensity. What felt familiar was uncertainty. What felt familiar was love mixed with pain. So leaving was harder than people think because what I was leaving was familiar, even if it was hurting me. And what I would have had to choose instead felt foreign. That's real. People also stay because of potential. They keep thinking about what the relationship could be. They remember the good moments. They may remember the apologies. They may remember the promises. They remember times when it felt safe or almost safe or good, just long enough to make them hope again. And hope, man, it can be beautiful. But in the wrong relationship, hope can be dangerous because hope can keep you hanging on. Hope can keep you wasting years. Hope can keep you trying to fix what was never yours to fix. There are also practical reasons leaving is hard. You know, you have children, bills, housing, transportation, family pressure, church pressure, cultural expectations, downright shame. People do not want to start over. They do not want to break up the family. They do not want to admit how bad things have become. They don't want to be judged. They don't want to be alone. And after being emotionally worn down for so long, a person may not even trust their own thoughts anymore. They may have been blamed so much, manipulated so much, gaslighted so much that by the time they think about leaving, they are already exhausted. They're not weak, they are exhausted, mentally and physically exhausted. And that is different. And sometimes leaving is the most dangerous time. That is something people really need to understand. From the outside, staying can look passive, but sometimes what looks like staying is actual careful survival planning. A person may be watching, waiting, planning, trying to gather money, trying to protect their children, trying to find housing, trying to avoid being stalked, trying to stay alive. A restraining order is a piece of paper because people say, well, get a restraining order. And that's fine. And while it may be important, We also know there are people who don't care about a piece of paper. They will stalk, they will still threaten, they will still retaliate. That fear is real. And when we see women, even now, preparing to leave, trying to leave, planning to leave, and still being harmed or unalived, it should make us more compassionate, not more judgmental. So, no, I do not think people really know what they would do unless they are in it. It is easy to watch from the outside and say, run. But sometimes when fear hits, people don't run. Sometimes they freeze. Sometimes they fight. Sometimes they flee. And sometimes they just shut down. And that does not make them weak, it makes them human. For me, looking back, I can say now that I believed he was who I deserved. Yep. And that's painful to admit, but that's the truth. I did not know better. I had not been shown better. I had not been healed enough to choose differently. I didn't even know I needed healing at that time. He and I were both wounded in different ways. And I kept thinking maybe I could fix him. Maybe I could help him. Maybe I could do enough to make it better for our marriage if I helped him. But I needed help too. But I didn't know that. But people pleasing does not heal abuse. Love does not heal someone who is determined to harm. And staying longer does not always make things safer. So if someone asks me now why leaving is harder than people think, I would say this. Ooh, child. Because it is not just about leaving a person. It's about leaving fear, leaving hope, leaving that history, leaving trauma, shame, leaving financial independence or dependence. It didn't mean I didn't work or that person doesn't work, but you still had that other person with you to help financially. Leaving the familiar, leaving the version of yourself that has learned how to survive inside that relationship, comfortable to an extent. And all of that takes more than people realize. So, again, I'm going to say the better question is not just why didn't they leave? Because this could be male or female. I'm saying female because it's mainly females that we hear about. But this could be anyone that's human. The better question is what do they need in order to leave safely? What support do they need? What healing do they need? What resources do they need? How can we help them rebuild without shame? Because some people are not staying because they want to be there. Some people are staying because they are surviving just one day at a time. And if you have lived that, or if you are living that, I want you to know this. Your confusion is real. Your fear is real. Your exhaustion is real. And your struggle is real. And just because someone on the outside does not understand it, does not make it any less true. So I want to leave you with a few questions. Why do you think leaving is harder than people think? What do you think keeps people tied to relationships that are hurting them? Is it fear? Is it hope? Is it shame? Is it trauma? Is it finances? Is it the children? Is it all of it? I have given my thoughts from my own lived experience. This is not a study. This is not me pretending to have every answer or any answer. This is my life, my perspective, and my understanding. And I would love to hear yours. Comment below. Thank you for spending this time with me today. This is the Secrets We Keep podcast, where silence ends and healing begins. As always, protect your peace, Speak your truth and keep choosing healing.